This is the Fantasy Football Game Plan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL. Things are going to look different for fantasy next year on a number of fronts. One of them being a lot of these guys aren't going to be around. Like, I don't know if we're going to see Phillip Rivers from Indy. I don't know if we're going to see, I don't know why Big Ben was crying at the end of the game other than the bad performance that they'd had. I'm thinking that maybe he was sitting on the bench next to Pouncey crying. Maybe he's done. And some of these other guys, I mean, we got Breeze and Brady this weekend, and there's a lot of talk. I think Brady will be back no matter what, but there's a lot of talk that Breeze won't be back next year for fantasy. Like that, there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks. Alex Smith, I don't think at this point a team would invest in him. He's a monster and courageous and came back from that huge injury, but when they needed him, he wasn't able to go, and it was that bad leg that let him down.
Yeah, his replacement though looked pretty sweet. He dove in from like 15 yards out. He was like doing like a long jump, scoring the touchdown. Quarterbacks, because usually quarterbacks are late in the ladder. In my league, they kind of like start the 6th to 10th pick.
Yeah,
you know, maybe.
What I want to know mostly is where Davonta Smith is going to end up next season, and I hope it's not the Jets for his sake, but that guy is a player. The Heisman Trophy winner, I had not seen him, and he was knocked out of the game for the most part early in the third quarter, but by then it didn't matter. He already had 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards and just was dominating, and the game was done.
Yeah, and he had a similar performance the week prior to get into the championship too. So
yeah, I'll be looking for him next year, see where he goes for sure. Well, I would like to know, how do you feel about the Eagles? It took them 52 years to win a Super Bowl. They finally won a Super Bowl. And 3 years later, they fired the coach.
Everyone likes to win. There's always that competition. I don't think anyone ever sabotages their team on purpose for draft picks or anything. I don't think that's part of the game, just with like the competitive nature of the professionals that play it. But you know, like he could have given Hurts the opportunity to have a comeback win.
The Rams and Seattle game, Akers, I think someone in my league picked him up for $9 last year, and they dropped him right before the playoffs started. And I think he's going to be huge.
This guy was turning it on for the last 5 weeks of the year. So for this person to drop him would not make sense. It sounds like they have a good offensive line and a great head coach that would utilize him, and has shown that. You know, and he did have several couple 100-yard games at the end of the year. So definitely someone to keep an eye on for next year.
Yeah.
And he can catch. And he can catch. So he's like really a third down back.
He eventually won that job. They were rotating between Henderson and Brown and Akers for a long time, but I think he's taken it over now, Akers, as long as he can stay healthy, because he got hurt a lot this season too.
At the beginning of the year, I think he was out for at least 4 weeks, and then he came back.
So now there's an additional team with Philly being wide open. I was looking at the players on the teams that don't have coaches right now, looking at the fantasy relevance of some of these guys. And I was listing sort of the best players on each of the teams that don't have a coach. The first team I wrote down was the Jets, and then I didn't write down any players. There's absolutely nobody until something happens on the Jets. I think having any Jets on your fantasy team is a huge mistake right now at this point.
Who's their current running back?
Yes, good point. And who is their wide receiver? Thank you.
But it's just like the running back. Like you and I could be playing running back, like for that team, and I don't want to take a hit right now.
Yeah, well, I think Gase is gone, so they won't be bringing in you or me or Frank Gore for that spot. But next team, I was looking at the Jags. They're probably going to draft Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback. That's what everybody's saying, which should be good for DJ Chark, because he kind of underperformed this year. And then the running back, James Robinson, was a monster. Somebody in my league got him off of waivers this year. And he was huge.
They have the tight end too. He used to play for Cincinnati.
Tyler Eifert.
Yeah. So if they can get someone that could throw or utilize him too, it'd be interesting considering if they do get the number 1 draft pick of the year. So
always a good idea in the NFL, have a guy that can throw. Not many teams have that, but I take your point, Coach. Okay, Texans, Deshaun Watson, he wants out. He's mad that he didn't get consulted for the GM hire. Apparently that's a thing now. You ask the quarterback who he wants. And then other than that, do you like anybody on the Texans for fantasy?
As like in my league, a flex player, maybe on
Maybe Cook.
any given, yeah, like Cook or Fuller, but I'm not sure anyone else really on that team that I would be. Fuller's good for those really long, big plays, but he doesn't also get he'll get you 10 points maybe a week. So,
but the thing is, Fuller's a good player, and what we know about Texans is if you have a good player, they try to trade him. So I think that his contract's up, so I don't know if he's going to be around. I don't even know if Deshaun Watson's going to be around. I really don't. I don't think he wants to be there right now.
Well, the running back too. I'm not sure if David Johnson transfers too, he might be someone to pick up. So he did well for the Cardinals. It's just like you say, it might not be in the best offensive scheme. Plus, they have had no head coach for 17 weeks.
Yeah, and they
So,
still don't.
Yeah,
actively, currently, they don't have one. Okay, next one, Detroit. You talked about them a lot last time, and I think you have their whole team on your roster.
I don't have the whole team on my
Hawkinson.
roster.
Do you have Galladay?
No.
Okay. Do you have DeAndre Swift?
No.
Okay. Well, he's the guy, I think. Obviously, Hawkinson's good, but DeAndre Swift, depending on who they hire for a coach, I think he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and he's somebody to keep an eye on, depending on who their coach is.
Okay. Depending on that, I think that he would be the best person on the team. I also think that TJ Hawkinson is someone to look out for, and if you can pick him up in an early part, or definitely someone to take a look at. Anyone else on that team, hit or miss. So
depends on the coach.
Depends on the coach. Depends. Offensive coordinator, I don't think is moving. If the quarterback moves, then it's a wide open season on that, because then who knows what happens. So I would say
similar to Philly. Like Philly, who do they have that you would want on your team? Miles Sanders, the running back, maybe. Same as Swift.
Defense? Or are we talking offense here? Because their defense, and they have some pretty. They have a pretty good line, but I guess on offense would be. Who's catching balls for them?
Exactly. You nailed it. They've got Jalen Reager, the rookie, but he's got potential. But I mean, again, until these teams get a coach and a system, who knows? Who knows those guys? They could be great or they could be brutal. If I had Miles Sanders, I don't know if I would hang on to him or not. In a keeper league, you guys don't play keepers, but I mean, Miles Sanders could either go really high next year or really low, I think.
Yeah. Boston Scott is a good person for down the ladder too.
Okay. So. Atlanta.
Well, what's Julio doing these days?
Gets hurt a lot. Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. The quarterback is it's situational too, but they also have a tight end, Hurts, who can catch and has shown some production. So who would I think on that team? I don't know. I had Gurley. They kind of had abandoned the run game. Yeah, good call. I don't know.
I think he's done. I think that team's going to have to draft a running back.
Okay, so for that team, I would say Julio is always a good option if he's healthy, and
Calvin Ridley.
yes, can catch the ball, speedster. Okay, 2. That's it.
And then what's the tight end's name? Is Hayden Hurst?
Hurst can, but you're looking at tight ends. Like, I've been talking a lot of tight ends. It's like I'm in love with the tight end position today, but no, I'm not. I don't think tight ends are that big of a deal in fantasy. I think like if you get there's like really probably like Wallace from Vegas.
Yeah, Darren Waller from the Raiders.
Yeah, from Vegas.
Well, we got to start to wrap it up. Last team with some potential great players, but we don't know who the coach is going to be. On this team, I'm thinking the LA Chargers have got a future quarterback who looks outstanding. Eckler, right? And the receiver, Keenan Allen. And those guys, all 3 of those guys, I think could be tops, like right near the top of the league, or not, depending on what their scheme is, whether or not they want to run, whether they want to throw, if their defense can stop people. It's a big question mark for me. I could see any of those guys being outstanding next year, but I'm waiting to see who they bring in.
Yep. I think with either the running back or the wide receiver position there, I would pick them on best man up in a fantasy draft. So if I was picking 26 or something like that, and Eckler was there, I'd pick him up, or Allen was still around, I would pick him up depending on what game plan I had with my roster for that year and my position. So Mike Williams is also someone that can catch the ball, but for the multiple years I've been playing, I've kind of stayed away from San Diego players as well as, or LA now, because I just don't have confidence in their team to produce the same product week after week after week.
Right.
And, Phillip Rivers was throwing for them, but
yeah,
like they had trouble scoring. So now they have Herbert throwing, great quarterback. Pick him up because he'll give you 30 touchdowns a year.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about the people that are on the opposite end of his.
He reminds me of Josh Allen on Buffalo. I think Herbert's he could be that.
Oh, definitely.
Year, depending on who they, what their system is.
Yeah, definitely easy, but I don't know. I guess it all with LA, I would think of it as being a draft day decision on best man up at what round you're in to pick up those guys. I don't think it's someone that you stretch for.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Mike Williams on my bench. I only needed to play him twice. He got me 0 points both times. I won't be taking him. I think he's got huge potential, and you just don't know. They seem to just want to throw the ball to their main wideout, Keenan Allen, and they don't seem to really want to throw to Mike Williams that much. So I think they should, but I won't be taking him next year. Okay, man. Thank you. Let's chat next week.
All right. Chat with you next week, Sean.
All right, man.
Bye.
Take care.
You too. Bye.